Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about 5th edition, and we're going to talk about young Sheldon and Dungeons & Dragons on young Sheldon. All right, so let's talk about this. So, very exciting. Dungeons & Dragons showed up on a mass television show just recently. So young Sheldon just dropped some episodes. It's the current season. So what is young Sheldon? If you're not aware, one of the biggest... and the size is important here, because this is why Dungeons and Dragons continues to curb stomp your favorite indie game, right? And this is what indie games need to get to, and they're not only are they not getting there, but they're it doesn't matter. It matters, right? That's the problem. That's why Dungeons and Dragons continues to matter, and every other indie RPG continues to really, really, really not matter. Right? And the people who are playing those other indie games, I don't think they understand how wasted their money, effort, time, attention, focus is. It's such a dramatic waste of time to play indie games now. All right, so let's talk about this, right? So Young Sheldon is a spin-off show with 4 seasons. 4 seasons, right? So the spin-off from the Big Bang Theory has 4 seasons. Now, Dungeons & Dragons continues to echo into American culture at a rate the entire tabletop role-playing game industry doesn't even remotely hit, right? What show was Pathfinder in? I don't know. I think the answer is none, right? What show was Fate in? None. What show was Powered by the Apocalypse in? 0, right? But what show was Dungeons & Dragons in? Well, it was in True Detective, and it was in, it had its own Saturday morning cartoon, and it was in Community, and it was in the Big Bang Theory, and it was in Young Sheldon. It just had enough. So, and the reason why this matters is millions, right? 5-10 million people plus watch Young Sheldon. These shows go into syndication, and they are watched, and they are rewatched, and they are rewatched by people who don't play Dungeons and Dragons, right? So Young Sheldon, it was season 4, episode 5. Okay, A Musty Crypt was the exact episode it was in. It was really, really fascinating. So it continues to just make Dungeons & Dragons an element of Americana. And, I did forget. There was one indie tabletop role-playing game show, right? One. Please let me know if there's others that I'm not thinking of. Oh, but there's a couple, right? So one, here we go. Tales from the Loop. Oh my gosh, was it a train wreck. Tales from the Loop was a television show completely based on a tabletop role-playing game. A very quiet indie game from Sweden. You guys know I love tabletop role-playing games. I could not finish the show. It was so sad and slow and boring. I could not bring myself to finish it. I got through episode 6, I think. It was horrible. Just the worst. And boy, go over and take a look and see if you can get through that sad, slow thing. It was just really bad, right? But Dungeons and Dragons on young Sheldon himself, who is a super intelligent human who goes to college at 11, is becoming a dungeon master. And so we see him with 1st edition on the table, monster manual, drawing maps and creating the characters. And what happens in the show, and spoilers for young Sheldon, what happens in the show is that he actually gets upset when his players decide to not show up for the game. So he ends up, and his Meemaw, his grandmother, is there with her boyfriend, and then he's there with his siblings. So he ends up running the session for his Meemaw's boyfriend, and one of his and both of his siblings, right? And it is very interesting because one of the things that I was really fascinated by was continuously Hollywood entertainment groups understand the value of the drama of portraying Dungeons and Dragons But the people who are created to create Dungeons and Dragons shows never ever realize how to make Dungeons and Dragons into compelling entertainment. So young Sheldon did a fantastic job of this. What it showed was that Sheldon's Mima was upset that her boyfriend was trying to be a do-gooder, but she knew, the way she explained it, she's like, my boyfriend's trying to be a better person for me, and it annoys me, right? And the reason why is, it's like a circus bear. You see the circus bear and he's waving at everybody, but you know he just wants to tear everybody's head off and eat them. And so I want my boyfriend to be a worse human being. I have no idea why anybody would put that into a show and why that's a storyline. But what I thought was really interesting was, in the show, the Meemaw plays a thief character saying, I'm looking for bad things to happen from my boyfriend, not good things to happen from my boyfriend. Saying, I'm on the more sketchy side, right? And her boyfriend was like, I want to play a paladin and crusade for good. And he was saying, I'm trying to change. I want to put good into my life, right? Now, there's 3 layers of entertainment there. We get the actual entertainment of them stealing treasure from a dungeon. It's shown in the show, right? We see the player characters in young Sheldon's show. We get the adventure that the adventurers are having, but we also understand that the players are using the adventurers' activities to play out some of their own real-life struggles. So there's the player event, there's the player drama, there's the player character drama, and there's the interaction between them, right? We never see this in the movies. The movies never, ever, ever, ever do this. They never show that the player characters are player characters being controlled by players who are bringing their own real-life issues, benefits, and advantages and disadvantages, their real-life advantages and disadvantages, into their characters. This is the most fascinating, special, wonderful thing about Dungeons and Dragons, and while every company in the world that puts Dungeons and Dragons into their show gets it and shows it and gets juice from it, every movie we get is like, oh, Dungeons and Dragons, and here's a bog standard fantasy setting that's not as good as Loader, and this is gonna not turn to tears and flames. But it always turns to tears and flames. So it was frustrating to see the writers of Young Sheldon fully understand all the drama of a player, all the drama of a player character, the interaction between them, being able to show the actual actions of the player as content, being able to show the actual actions of the player characters as content, and letting the viewer, right, have some activity in matching all this together, right? It's really, really brilliant. The last thing they did in the that I thought was very, very interesting was they had specifically young Sheldon declare, they said, everybody asked him, why do you like doing this? Why do you like building these scenarios and these adventures? And he's like, so I can lord godlike power over my players. And that was really sad too, because when Hollywood shows Dungeon Masters, they still are saying the people who are attracted to this are control freaks, right? Now, they're not 100% wrong. There is 100% there is absolutely a percentage of players who come to the Dungeon Master seat because it does give godlike powers. You literally control the weather. You literally control every player in the world except the player characters. And shockingly, many DMs overstep and take control of player characters quite frequently, right? So the godlike power is very real, right? And it was a little sad to see young Sheldon kind of regurgitate that age-old stereotype of Dungeon Masters. There are a lot of Dungeon Masters who take that godlike character very, very serious. They don't want to lord it over their friends. They want to create a fun environment. They want to create a good story for their... But I highly recommend to you to go check out Young Sheldon, Season 4, Episode 5. I have HBO Max, so I was able to watch it for free. I actually get HBO Max for free. I'm very fortunate through my AT&T provider, which is fantastic. So it was really nice. And so anyway, you can watch it. I think it's totally worth even purchasing it if you have to buy the episodes separately. And it just this just proves like D&D matters. Indies don't matter. Do not waste your time on them more than as a sub game to give you a break from Dungeons and Dragons. It's totally okay to play indie games, but don't play them more than you play Dungeons and Dragons. Very important that you understand the importance of your engagement with Dungeons and Dragons. It is absolutely critical. Like, it literally has to do with the evolution of humans intellectually, right? So do not forgo your duty. I would say it that way. All that's my opinion. What do you think? Have you seen this episode? Have you ever seen Young Sheldon? Did you see Big Bang? What do you think of D&D's portrayal in American culture, especially through the big and the small screen? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.